Hi everyone, welcome to the week 11 video. I will send out mid-semester grades in progress this week after I finish grading major assignment 3. These are intended to give you an understanding of your standing in the class. I am available for real-time conferences at your convenience. Just email me to set up a conference. We can talk over Zoom, Collaborate, or telephone. Remember to register for classes for next semester according to your priority registration date. You should register as soon as possible to get the schedule and classes you want. It is especially important if you have a learning preference. For example, if you know that you really want only fully online classes or real-time online classes or a combination, it's really important that you register for classes early. We will be online next semester. So, there are only certain sections of each class that have, for example, a real-time online designation or a fully online designation. So if you know that you learn better as a real-time online student, make sure that you register early so that you can choose the classes with a real-time online designation. You can speak to me and I can help advise you about classes, or you can contact the Academic Advising Center at 631-851-6247 or Advising Center West at sunysuffolk.edu. For our course, we're moving into our final unit, which will be about MLA formatting and research. We have one major assignment left. I will go over this assignment in detail next week. Please note that major assignment 4 is not an essay, but it's an annotated bibliography. We will spend the rest of the semester working on this project. This week, you only have 3 tasks for our course. Task 1, review the MLA presentation under readings. It's right here. Task 2, we have our first quiz. So this is an open book, untimed quiz. I recommend having the MLA presentation open while you're taking the quiz so that you can refer back and forth to it. You can take this quiz up to 5 times, and the highest score will be recorded in Blackboard. There are 13 questions. They are all multiple choice. You can stop and start this quiz as many times as you want. Like I said, it's untimed and it's open book. So go through and take this quiz. The due date is Friday because we have Wednesday, November 11th off for Veterans Day. So I'm giving you an extra day. You also have Discussion Forum 9 due this week. And in Discussion Forum 9 is also about MLA formatting. Please write a question about MLA formatting and answer a classmate's question about MLA formatting. Those are our 3 tasks. Review the MLA presentation, complete quiz 1, and complete Discussion Forum 9 about MLA formatting. So the rest of this video is going to go over the presentation, the MLA formatting presentation. Some of you might prefer just to read the presentation, but some of you might want to listen to me talking about it. If you would prefer just to read the presentation, you can stop right here. But if you would prefer to hear me talking about the presentation, then please stand by while I bring up MLA formatting presentation. In this portion of the video, I'm going to go over the MLA 8th edition formatting and style guide. MLA regulates document format, what the document looks like, in-text citations, where you tell your reader you got the information from your quotations, and the works cited list, that is what MLA calls the list of sources or the bibliography. So the 8th edition was updated in 2016, and this presentation goes over the updates. This presentation is going to go over how to format a paper, how to format in-text citations, and the core elements and the works cited in MLA style. In general, an MLA style paper should be double-spaced. You should use 12-point Times New Roman font. You should only have 1 space after punctuation. You should set all margins to 1 inch on all sides, and you should indent the first line of paragraphs 1/2 inch. for each paragraph. I'm just going back here. It's important to note that MLA style formatting regulates how papers in the humanities are formatted. So the following disciplines tend to use MLA: languages, literature, linguistics, philosophy, communication, religion, and English. Social sciences such as psychology, education, and history tend to use something else called APA formatting. But this is an English class, so we go over MLA formatting. So I'm going to skip ahead. So an MLA style paper should have a page number should have a header with page numbers located in the upper right hand corner. This should not separate your last name and the page number with a comma. And I'm going to skip the rest of this because we will not be dealing with endnotes. The first page of an MLA style paper will not have a title page. MLA does not use title pages. Everything should be double spaced. You should have your name, your instructor's name, the course, and the date in the upper left-hand corner. The paper title should be centered, where you use initial caps, which is where you capitalize the first letter of each word, except for prepositions and conjunctions such as but, and, or, for, and from. And you should create a header in the upper right corner of each page that has your last name and the page number. This is an example. You'll notice here is the writer of the paper's last name. Here is the writer of the paper's page number. You'll notice there's no comma separating them. This is in the heading, in the header, the upper right header. This first page heading has the first and last name of the writer of the paper, the professor's name, the course title, and the date. You usually put the date that the essay is due. This is the title of the essay, and you'll notice first letter of every word except for conjunctions and prepositions is capitalized, but otherwise there is no bolding, there's no italicizing. It's just 12-point Times New Roman font, and it's centered. The first line of the body paragraph is indented by 0.5 inches. I'm going to skip this because we're not going to have section headings. The in-text citation is the brief reference in your text that indicates the source that you consulted. So what it should do is direct readers to the appropriate entry in your works cited list for that source. So the signal word in the text of your in-text citation should be the first word that will be on your works cited page. The in-text citation should be placed, if possible, where there is a natural pause in your text. If the citation refers to a direct quotation, it should be placed directly following the closing quotation mark. In general, the in-text citation will be the author's last name or the abbreviated title if there's no author's last name, with a page number enclosed in parentheses. For example, these are 3 different ways that you can cite a text. This first example has the author's last name, Wordsworth. Wordsworth stated that romantic poetry was marked by a, quote, spontaneous overflow of powerful feelings, end quote. Page number the quote is from in parentheses, and then after the parentheses end, the punctuation for the quotation. You don't need to put, in this case, the author's last name in the parentheses in the in-text citation because it's stated right here in the lead into the quote. This example shows the same quote. However, this writer did not put Wordsworth's name in the lead into the quote, so that writer now has to put Wordsworth's name in the parenthetical citation after the quote. You'll notice that there is no comma separating the last name and the page number. Here, this is a paraphrase, so the writer is not directly quoting, instead is rewording something that Wordsworth said. However, this still needs to be cited because it's not the author's individual idea, it's something that the writer of this paper is taking from Wordsworth. But Wordsworth does not need to be in the parenthetical citation because he is mentioned in the lead-in to the quote. This is the corresponding works cited entry, which would be found on the works cited page, which is the last page of a research paper. This is another example. This is an example of a work that does not have an author. When you come across a work without an author, then you use the article title. If the article is really long, you can just shorten it to the first 4 words, and the page number if available. So this is the corresponding entry right here. I'm going to skip this because we're really not going to have works with multiple editions for our class or authors with same last names. If you come across a source that has more than 2 authors, you need to put et al., which is a Latin abbreviation for and all. So, for example, Smith et al. Argues that tougher gun control is not needed in the United States on page 76. Or, the authors state tighter gun control in the United States erodes Second Amendment rights. Smith et al., 76. However, if you have 2 writers, you don't need to use and all, and you should just put those 2 writers in the in-text citation. I'm going to skip multiple works by the same author, as well as multi-volume works and citing the Bible. These indirect sources are something that you might come across. So if you are reading a source and you want to use a quote that the writer of the source quotes, then you have to tell the reader where you actually encountered the quotation. So for example, the writer of this essay wants to use something that the education scholar Diane Ravitch said. However, this person did not read Diane Ravitch's text. Instead, they wrote a text by somebody named Weissman. So they have to put QTD and Weissman 259. This means that the quote is by Diane Ravitch, but they actually read it in Weissman. I'm going to skip multiple citations. I'm going to skip works in time-based media only because for our class we're not using it, but you will come across this in college, so just know that in MLA formatting there is a way to format time-based media. If you don't have a page number for a source, then you can't put a page number. Just put the author's last name if available, or the article title if the author's last name is not available. When you have a quotation that you're using in MLA, and MLA really relies on direct quotations. Some academic disciplines do not use direct quotations, but English uses a lot of direct quotations. If the quotation is 3 lines or less, then you integrate it into your sentence and you put the quote in quotation marks. Then you put the citation right after the quote, and the punctuation of the quotation goes after the citation. Here are 3 examples of that. So you probably won't do this in our assignment, but you should just know that if you have a quote that's a long quote, that's more than 4 lines, then you format it differently. You actually don't use quotation marks and you indent the whole quote. I'm going to skip poetry. We're not doing that in this class. If you add words to the quotation, put them in brackets. If you take them out, put in ellipses, which is that 3 dots that indicates words were taken out. So the update basically has changed the way the works cited looks, but it hasn't changed it that radically. The first thing you always want to put in the works cited list is the author's last name if you have it. Then you'd put the author's first name, Then you put the title of the source. And I'm going to go through each of these in a little bit more detail, because the container is, it's a new way of talking about it, and it's a little bit confusing. This is easy, the author's last name, followed by a comma and the rest of the name as presented in the work. All right, the title of the source. This was going to be the title of the book if you're using a book, the title of the article. In our assignment, you're going to be using articles from periodicals, journals, magazines, or newspapers. So that's the title of the source that comes after the author's last name. So the container is what comes after the title of the source. This should be italicized. The containers are usually italicized. These are the larger holes in which the source is located. For example, if you want to cite a poem that is listed in a collection of poems, the individual poem is the source, while the larger collection is the container. The title of the container is usually italicized and followed by a comma, since the information that follows next describes the container. So this first example toward meta reading is the title of an essay, and the future of the book is the edited collection in which the essay appears. The container might also be a website which contains articles, postings, and other works. The container might also be a television series which is made up of episodes. I'm going to skip this. I'm going to skip version. You should use the publication date that is most relevant for your use of the source. Be as specific as possible in identifying a work's location. So for example, here, you should put in the URL because it is available online. Previous editions of MLA had taken away URLs, but now you can put them back in. I'm skipping this. The URL is optional though, it's not necessary. But I would say put it in if it's going to make it easier for your reader to find it. There's something called a digital object identifier that is provided by a lot of scholarly sources. So when we use the library, which we will, you might have one of these and you can put that in. And if you're using a website, it's a pretty good idea to put in the access date. Not required, but online material can change. So it's generally a good idea to put it in. So that's it. Please let me know if you have any questions about MLA formatting.